Hi guys and welcome back to another how-to. Today I wanted to show you how to change your engine oil on a motorbike. This is going to be pretty much similar for so many models out there with few exceptions. So let's get into it. Right, so the first thing you need to do before you even touch the bike is make sure you flick through the owner's manual and you look through and find specifications. This is going to tell you what engine oil you need to buy. Now you can see here it says engine oil. 10 weight 40, recommended engine oil grade, API service SG type or higher, JSO standard MA. That's the type you need to buy, and it also there says quantity, engine oil quantity, it says with oil filter removal 2.6 litres. So when you buy your oil, there she is. So you can see that we have 10 weight 40 and we have JSO MA2. You can see on the back here it says JSO MA2, suitable for use where oils meeting JSO MA are specified, so you know that's the right stuff. I'm just telling you this so that you can check it when you're at the store, because sometimes the people in the stores don't know 100% what they're doing and they could give you the wrong oil. So this is just a little check to make sure you got the right stuff. You're also going to need an oil filter. You can go down to your local bike shop and you can ask them for oil filter for your specific bike and they'll give you that. First thing to keep in mind is make sure you put the bike on a nice level and flat surface. You don't want to be working on the bike on an angle because it's going to make the oil not drain out properly. Right, so the first thing you want to do after you find a nice level surface is just turn the bike on for about 1 to 2 minutes so that that oil can warm up and it just drains easier when you crack that bolt. Right, so what you need are going to be some rags to clean up that excess oil, some degreaser to help you clean up that oil, either a socket set with a ratchet or just some standard wrenches. You can get a torque wrench if you wish, however this isn't mandatory, it just helps you get those bolts to the right torque and spec, engine oil, filter and drain pan. Right, so the next thing you can do is grab a little offcut, bit of timber or something like that, and just shove it under the stand. What it's going to do is it's going to make sure that the bike's more upright when you come to crack that nut, and it's going to get most of that oil out. Right, so the next step of the process is you're going to get your spanner and you're going to undo that nut and let all the oil drain out. And dump that sump. There you go. Put the plug up here. Just let that drain out. Right, so now where you're letting that drain, it's a good idea to get your drain bolt now and give it a clean. So grab that degreaser. Clean all the oil off the drain bolt. Clean the threads out and all that. Just work on cleaning that drain bolt. Right, so what I like to do after I clean the threads out on this bolt is I like to grab a little bit of heat resistant silicone and just put a small smear around that base of the bolt where it mounts up against the casing. Right, so after you've dealt with your drain bolt and you've cleaned it all out, now just keep in mind that silicone isn't necessary, it's just something I like to do to prevent oil leaks. What you're going to do after that is you're going to just dip the threads into the oil. This is going to give a little bit of lubrication and make sure that it's easy to take off next time. So just take your bolt and just screw it back in. Now just seat it in nice and then grab your spanner. You can remove your pan now. Move your pan and just tighten this thing up. Now if you want to use the torque wrench, it's going to be the 43 Newton meters. However, if you just want to use it to hand, just don't go crazy on it. Right, so now that you've dealt with your drain bolt, you now want to turn your attention to the oil filter. So grab your pan back under there to catch the oil and crack this loose. So keep in mind these things shouldn't be that tight, but if yours has a spanner head or a nut on top of it, as you can see it comes off with ease. If it doesn't have one of these and it's just a smooth filter, you can grab yourself a bit of sandpaper. You can grab that sandpaper around it and you can turn it off like so. Do that and you just work it off like that. If you don't have the nut, or you could even, if you don't want the sandpaper, you could chuck a filter wrench on there like so. So just screw that thing off. Right, so you're going to let that drain for roughly the same time, around 10 minutes or so, let it get all of it out. Like I said, if you really wanted to, you could leave the drain bolt out while you do this. It really doesn't make a difference. Majority of the oil is going to come out of the bike. Now, before you chuck your new filter on there, when you open it, it's going to have this plastic kind of cover on there. Get that off. And you're going to have this O-ring. Grab a little bit of the oil that you drained out, or even fresh oil, doesn't really make a difference. And just put a light smear of oil around that. Also, it's a good idea to get a little bit of oil on those threads, like so, and that's ready to mount. So now you're going to put the filter back. So make sure where the filter mounts is clean and free of debris or anything like that, sand, grit, something like that. And just take your oil filter that you've put a little bit of oil on the O-ring on and just screw this back on. Now make sure you don't cross thread it, and this thing doesn't have to be that tight. The owner's manual for this one specifies 17 Newton meters of torque. So I've got my torque wrench. Obviously you don't need this. This can just be done by hand, but just don't do it crazy tight. Right, so now that you've tightened up your oil filter and your drain bolt, you're now ready to put some oil into it. So let's get on to that. Right, so the first thing you're going to do to fill up the bike is make sure the bike is as level as possible. Just grab some like bits of timber or offcuts and just push the bike up. Get it as level as possible. Pull the bike down, make sure it doesn't fall over, obviously. Just keep the bike to where it's kind of on its balance point, but obviously a little bit towards you because you don't want it falling over. Right, so when the bike's upright, grab yourself a little funnel. It's going to make it easier so that you can pour that oil in. Take off your plug. Set that aside somewhere. And just start feeding a little bit of oil in. Pour that oil in until you see it coming up on the sight glass. Now the process is going to be basically fill it up to the right level, turn the bike on briefly so that the oil filter can suck and process that oil through the engine, and then you're going to just top it up to the right level. Is obviously you can see I've filled it up to the right level. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the bike on, and what that's going to do is it's going to go and it's going to suck into the oil filter, reducing this level down. So after you turn it on for briefly, maybe 10 seconds or so, then you're going to fill it back up and top it up to the right level. So you'll see when I turn it on, the oil will get sucked down. Now just leave it on briefly, 10 seconds or so, just to get that circulation. That's all it needs, so that oil is now circulated through the filter. Right, so what you're going to do now after you've turned it on for about 10 seconds or so, you're going to let that oil sit and drain back down into the sump. What that's going to do is it's going to show you the level and how much more you need to put in. You only need to do this once. So after you turn it on, you let it sit down for maybe about 2 to 5 minutes, and then you can fill it back up and top it up to the right level, and then that oil is done. Right, so just take off that top cap again, grab your funnel, and just fill it up between the lines. So like I said, for this bike, we want to fill it up right to the top there. So the last thing you want to do is just clean it up now. Clean all the mess off, clean everything up, because now you want to check it for leaks when you turn it on. So you want to make sure it's clean and got nothing on it, no oil residue or anything. Turn the bike on and check the oil filter and drain bolt for leaks. After you've turned the bike on for around 5 minutes or so, just make sure that the oil level is exactly what it's meant to be. As we can see here, it's perfect. It's right on the upper half of that line, which the owner manual says it should be. Also, I've checked the drain bolt, it's not leaking. I've also checked the oil filter and it's perfect. So the best thing to do now is whenever you take it for a ride next time, if it's straight after it or if it's in a day or 2 days or whatever, just make sure after you ride it, you check the drain bolt and filter again. It's just good practice. So I hope you've liked the video. This is how to change your engine oil on a motorbike. It's all pretty much the same across all bikes. You know, it's the same procedure, but with minor differences. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 drain bolts, etc., etc. So I hope you liked the video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, and I hope to see you on the next one.